I don't know where I came upon the idea to read this particular book, The Doorman, by a novel by Chris Pavone. Pavone? Pavone? Pavone. 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 Chris Pavone. Chris Pavone. The Doorman is the name of the book. I really like The Doorman. This is a fairly new novel. It's new in the library, September 2025, which is, as far as I recall, was a few months ago. Now, it's December now. The Doorman is very much a New York City novel, and I loved it for that. I love New York novels, and I thought it was just really excellent. The blurbs on the back compare it to Bonfire on the Vanities, which I did read Bonfire on the Vanities, a billion years ago. And, it struck me as sort of, all right. And kind of like very much sort of a rehash of The Great Gatsby in a way, the famous Fitzgerald 1925 hit. So, but, this is beyond, The Doorman is much beyond Bonfire of the Vanities as far as consciousness of class consciousness, I would say, maybe is the primary difference between these two novels because we have a bit of a sweep of characters here from the very very wealthy to people working class people who are working, the doorman, the staff of the building. It has to do with this fictional 19th century enormous building on Central Park West. And these are the when you look at the pictures of the lakes of Central Park, you see these buildings in the background, these old towering apartment buildings and so forth. And so this is one of them. And I've been in some of these places, not the real ritzy fancy ones, but other big apartment buildings, and they're com- really awesome. I mean, multiple elevators and stairways and basements that go on forever, and all kinds of stuff. They get renovated all through the years, and so it centers on this guy, the long-term doorman of this building, the Bohemian Apartments, the Bohemia. Yeah. So talks about the type of people who will live there. What is the building called? Bohemian Apartments, the Bohemia. Yeah. So talks about the type of people who will live there. It's one time it was showbiz people, stuff like that. And as the all the demographics and wealth change in New York City, a lot of these people like that, are kind of forced out of these type of buildings and into more. Something they can more afford, and then into the Bohemia is more like people like very who are very wealthy, especially on the topper floors. So the main characters are Chicky, who is a Puerto Rican long-term doorman in this place, beloved, trusted. Talks about what he does very much. The other people in the staff, um, the how things have changed along the way. Like one time they weren't years ago they weren't allowed to have beards, and then the board changed the beard. This is one of the buildings with like a co-op board that decides everything that needs to be done, approves renovations and all these kind of things. So you buy you buy these buildings. or this apartment in these buildings, and they're not really, your own, is to do anything you want to with them. There are restrictions, to conform with the style of the building, not to destroy the look of the building, the the landmarks type of accoutrements in the building. And yeah, so in this building there's Emily Longworth, I think. There's the rich couple who live in what 11B, C and D. So they have a couple of apartments that they've bought. So they've expanded out through the apartments. And Wit is the name of the male, and he's a weapons contractor and not a good guy. He is the villain of the piece, and he is very much the villain of the piece. It's all quite clear. This novel has that kind of class consciousness that it doesn't screw around with this stuff. The big rich billionaire weapon contractor. Actually, he makes body armor. He's not making bullets per se. He's making body armor, and he doesn't have any moral rules about the whole thing, particularly in himself. He will sell to whomever. So the angle in the novel is that he's been selling to bad actors, selling some of this stuff to like the enemy, or like rebel or whatever, or something or others. And I would suggest that these people are even they've sold to the U.S. military. They're being bad. U.S. military is the baddest actors there is. I mean, we all know that. I've said that before. So the if he's selling to them, that's bad enough. So at least that's my opinion. But the novel suggests that he's doing these things, and it comes out. It becomes exposed, and we find out how it was exposed and leaked. And there's very much elements of domestic drama involved in the novel too. It's a really, really very rich novel with there's an affair going on within two couples in the building. The rich guy is really, really nasty in his sexual choices. He has a real dominant kind of S&M kink. He likes to see pain, and once again, this sort of thing where you like to see somebody pass out, or about to pass out, or one of these other male kind of control things. So he's just really not good, and his wife is not liking him, and they have a couple of kids, and so it all evolves out of that. This whole complicated story that is completely. I thought it was just wonderful and very rich, and just a completely successful novel that I can have no problem at all 100% recommending. I thought it was just excellent. So that's my feelings about the book. I did want to read some stuff from the book, so we'll try reading you a few things. And it's like, this is easy. You don't have to watch, right? I mean, who cares? This is early on in the book. I think I share things on Facebook while I'm reading, like currently reading, and then I'll put a quote in. So I'll photograph the page, and then using an iPhone, you can scan the text really easy. Is run your finger across the photo, and it takes the text out for you, and it's very convenient for what I do here. So anyway. This time of night is when the rats come out in full force, swishing their tails through the cracks between the cobblestones in the dappled light of street lamps through tree branches. Chicky can see a big one right now, and he suppresses a shudder. Everyone is creeped out by rats. But just because something sucks for everyone doesn't mean it sucks for you. Last year, Mrs. Fromm saw a rat climb out of her toilet and scamper down the hall, leaving a trail of water to her stove. This is the worst thing Chicky had ever heard of, a nightmare that will haunt him until his dying breath. And Chicky was in an actual war. He saw guys die. Witt's professional villainy, like his sexual villainy and his political villainy, revealed itself gradually. He'd been well raised, well hidden behind manners and degrees and philanthropy, and above all behind a type of prodigious wealth that made people reluctant to peek behind it. These days, though, wealth like Witt's was the opposite. It practically demanded investigation. See what I mean? It's class consciousness. Emily had accepted that she was making a deal, a compromise, but then she'd been bait and switched. Maybe not purposefully so. Maybe Witt had evolved unintentionally, a victim of the times, swayed by a president who wallowed in immorality, who cheated on his taxes, cheated on in business, cheated on his wives, cheated in politics, cheated in public health in the pandemic, and even bragged about all the cheating, making dishonesty into a core personality trait, the core. If it was acceptable for POTUS to boast about a lifelong hobby of sexual assault, it was hard to imagine what behavior was unacceptable. Whatever's the worst thing about you, own it. There was a lot she wanted, but she promised herself over and over that love wasn't what she was looking for. She didn't want to be in love. She didn't want to be loved. But by the time her children were in college, she had been in her late 40s. At that point, she will have squirreled away somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million. Plenty of money and plenty of time to start a new life. This affair may be the best experience of his life, but it was also the worst. If it doesn't hurt, it isn't love. Oh, they talk about I won't read this part, but the walls were filled with sand in the building. Apparently, in the olden days, they used to, plaster walls, or, thick plaster. And use drywall that they just screw in. They would put like sand. It says they put sand in the walls to dampen the sound. So, big old apartment with solid walls with sand in them. So, I thought that was kind of interesting where, other apartments, my friend Maddie said they use horsehair or newspapers in other buildings. And I guess I've seen some of that in my travels as a renovator of apartments in the past. Almost no one ever said yes anymore, but Chicky asked, "Can I get you a cab, Mr. Blankenship? Taxi, Miss Frum?" Now, it was almost always Ubers unless people were getting into their own cars driven by their own drivers. Chicky missed running into the street with whistle blowing and waving and arms waving. It felt great to do something for two people at once. Neither was him. It made him feel valuable and valued. It was a small thing, but it was more than nothing. This is a really interesting passage, which shows the consciousness of Pavlov as to what's going on in the country right now, and how certain things of the lifestyle left alienated people, and it made things worse for all of us. So this is the father-in-law of Emily, the main woman character. Giff Merriweather, like his daughter, had always been a Democrat. He voted for Obama twice, but then told a dirty joke at work, got called out by a young woman of color, canceled, bought out of his partnership, career over, and suddenly he was watching Fox News day and night. Emily recognized that her father was being pushed away from the left more than he was pulled in by the right. It wasn't the port that was appealing. It was the storm that terrified Gift Merriweather, not to mention Whit Longworth. Men like her dad and her husband were becoming terrified animals, backed into the corner, lashing out in the same way. Being rich and powerful and white and male doesn't prevent anyone from being scared. Well, he never intended to be a bad guy. He wasn't insane. He wasn't a psychopath. He wasn't evil, but he was, admittedly, was greedy. But wasn't greed the core principle of capitalism? The dominant ethos in America? People talked about racial reckoning, about social justice, climate justice, menstrual justice, for Christ's sake. Distractions. All justice was some form or another of economic justice. And as long as people were up in arms about pronouns and capitalization and representation, they were keeping their own selves down. These trendy issues were like any other fad: a new social media app, a dance craze, fashion, pop music. They come and go. Not greed. Greed was the national sport, always had been, and Wit had been spectacularly good at it. And now he was being pilloried for that success. Canceled. See what I mean? I think he's right on.